it's that time of the week again for Sterlo's wrap-up. Yes, 20 rounds gone now, just 5 to go. Peter Sterling's alongside me in the studio. Good to see you, Pete.
Hello, James. My favourite time of the week.
Oh, yes, I bet it is.
I get to see you.
Yep. And we
haven't
get to
seen
hang
you
out
for hours.
Yeah. It feels like longer though, I promise you. No, great to be with you. Always a highlight on a Monday to sit down and do Sterlo's wrap with Peter Sterling. And let's go back. Thursday night, we were there, live on 9, Suncorp Stadium, the Broncos, just getting home in a controversial one against the Sharks, 12 points to 10.
Yeah, I know it was controversial in regards to a couple of calls that went against Cronulla, but I thought the better side won. I thought they did so on their merits. Low-scoring game, and I was really impressed by the fact that Brisbane could win by 50 the week before and come out and get it done in another way against class opposition in a clash like this against the Sharks. I thought their online defence was outstanding, the scrambling defence from the Brisbane Broncos, because Cronulla had enough opportunities to win this game.
Yep.
Yes, some calls went against them, but I thought it was the defence of Brisbane that held them out. That was the difference between the two sides. I really like Darius Boyd in the centres. I think it's going to be a move that they will look back on in a number of weeks and say it was the right one, with the Sarko providing the thrust from the number 1 position. And Darius Boyd so solid defensively. I think that's been a really good move. And some young forwards coming through look great for them. So quality game, this one. It was tight in the end, but I thought the better side won. And I thought that Brisbane did a lot of things right.
A lot of comebacks over the weekend. The first of them was in Townsville. The Cowboys 20 beating the Knights 18. 2 points of difference in this one as well. And well, Newcastle looked like they were set for another strong win, Pete, until a bit of JT magic towards the end.
Yeah, and JT and Gavin Cooper were kind of off the pace early in this game, but they persevered and combined at the end to break the hearts of Newcastle once again. The problem for the Knights in this match was that when they were dominant, and they were for the majority of it, it wasn't reflected on the scoreboard. Yeah. They should have had a bigger lead than what they did, and that allowed North Queensland, when they started to get a little bit of a roll and a bit more confidence, because they were poor. The first 40 minutes from the Cowboys was almost like they'd put the cue in the rack.
Yep.
And, you know, you haven't seen that. But again, perseverance paid off, and you saw at the end. There may be a little bit of doubt about the past, but again, North Queensland were able to come up with the right play at the right time, and it was no surprise that it involved Jonathan Thurston.
Big upset in Friday night footy here on 9. The Bulldogs have been battling so much of late, 16-4 over a Tigers side who were trying to keep in touch with the top 8 and could have finished the round within 2 points of it, but won't because of this loss.
And they would have been 2 points now that we know that the Warriors got beaten. So what an opportunity missed by the West's Tigers. But I don't want to take anything away from the Canterbury performance. Yep. I thought they were really good, as they've been in so many games this year. They've been nutted by small margins on so many occasions. But this game, they were able to hang on. They started clock watching late, and that was to be a real concern, because the West Tigers, once they'd scored the 1 try, they looked like they were capable of really coming home with the rush. And there were a couple of huge plays, I thought, for the winners, the Bulldogs. The West Tigers score a try, and from the next set, we see this play here that Luke Brooks is nearly away, but Adam Elliott, in his 50th NRL game, came up with a huge tackle. I think the West Tigers may well have scored from that, and all of a sudden we're looking at possibly a 14-10 scoreline. And then the biggest play of the game, which we've spoken a fair bit about over the weekend, was this one from Lachlan Lewis. Again, all the momentum is against them. They've had no football. The Tigers are coming to get them. He throws the leg out deliberately. And it wasn't just that, but it was the jostle to get to the football. Have a look at this. Kicks it out. Now, Chris McQueen is in contest for that football, but Lewis is able to get there in front of him. Then he goes for a quick play the ball, and all of a sudden he earns his side a penalty. So not only gets possession, but he also gets them into better field position, and he takes the momentum away from the West Tigers. From that moment on, the Bulldogs were always going to hang on.
All right, that was Friday night. Saturday kicked off with a real I see it but don't believe it matchup at Brookvale Oval. A very small crowd on hand to see a desperate Panther side against an even more desperate Manly side. 28-24, but it was 24-6 with 13 to go, Pete.
I've seen it, but I don't believe it. It was remarkable. I've seen big comebacks in the past, but never that many points in such a short period of time. And you've got to feel gutted. The post-match press conference involving Trent Barrett, it was excruciating, and understandably so, because his side had this game seemingly won. Big lead. At 24-6, they actually had a kick at goal, penalty kick at goal. It hit the upright. If that had gone through, I think that Manly win, but it bounced back, and pretty much from that moment on, it was all Penrith. Somehow they got out of trouble. This is a Penrith team that has a lot of talent. They haven't played well of late. This could have been their 5th loss in their previous 6 matches. Not good form this close to finals football. But they came home with the surge. And I want to just highlight Viliame Kikau, who they needed a catalyst. They needed somebody to come up with some big plays. Now, he set up the first try with a break, but that tackle on Tom Trbojevic to put Cleary in under the post. And then when Manly still had a chance to come up with this play defensively again on Adam Fanua-Blake, they were big plays from a big man in big moments of the game. That's deliberate there. The side needed the football back because Manly had an opportunity to win. So whilst they've got a lot of class players, and obviously Nathan Cleary had a big say in the result of this one, the man who actually came up with the biggest plays was Viliame Kikau in a different way to what we've seen him on a week-to-week basis. Anthony Griffin pulled a little bit of a surprise here positionally. Tyrone Peachey didn't expect him to play at fullback, but have a look at this for the last play of the game.
He wants to stay there now too.
Tom Trbojevic coming through, and Peachey with 30 seconds to go took the catch, and even I guess that one action there probably justified his selection, to be honest. So interesting to see what the Penrith Panthers will produce coming out of the back of that. Gutted for Manly. It was the one that got away. But the Penrith side showed what they're capable of with some football and with some self-belief.
Another comeback too, seeing the Rabbitohs 26 beating the Eagles 20. But boy, oh boy, Parramatta showing flashes of hope for season 2019. Jared Hayne, one of their stars, but again, letting a lead slip, Pete.
Well, they had a huge lead, didn't they? And this game was all about possession, as they all are. But you know, when you're getting 70-30 percentages, you know that there are going to be points. So South Sydney scored the first try. Parramatta then, for the rest of the first half, enjoyed that possession, and they ran up 20 unanswered points to build up that 20-6 lead. Second half, you kind of always knew it was going to turn around, and it was going to be a question as to whether Parramatta could weather that storm. Unfortunately, like we've seen on so many occasions this year, they were unable to. So when it was 70-30% in favour of South Sydney, they came home on the back of that, and they scored 20 unanswered points. So look, it was a good performance from Parramatta. Frustrating again that they didn't get the result. The fans, yes, will be buoyed by what they saw in certain parts of their game. This is how close I think they went to winning the match. Early in the second half, Jared Hayne, who you pointed out was very influential in this game, appears to take an intercept and race 90 metres. Now, it's 18-6. All of a sudden, it's 24-6. And you just think, well, maybe things might have turned out differently. But we go back, and when we talk about video technology, this is where it really does come to the fore. They get the call exactly right because it touches the fingernail of Alex Johnson. And once Jared Hayne propelled the ball into an opposing defender, that constitutes a knock-on. So instead of 24 points to 6, all of a sudden they didn't get away. Now, what I do want to point out as well is that Parramatta in the second half had no football, and there are times in the game where when you do get it back, you've got to make sure that all of a sudden you get back into the arm wrestle, you utilise it properly. Mitchell Moses here, they hadn't had football for ages. They just conceded points. It's 20-16 in front. They needed a good kick at the end of that set, not one that goes over the sideline. Because when we come back here for the restart, at the end of the next possession from South Sydney, Corey Norman is sin-binned, and that was the death knell. South Sydney score on the back of that. So that was a big, I wouldn't say a turning point, but it was a significant moment in the game where if they come up with a better kick, all of a sudden South Sydney are working out from their own end. They're not down Parramatta's end, and then forcing one of the Parramatta players off through repeated infringements.
And the Eels stay alone at the bottom of the ladder. Now through the 20th round, we saw a couple of premiership favourites really flexing their muscle. 44 points to 10, Pete. The Melbourne Storm clinical against a Raiders side that had nothing to lose, could have been dangerous, but looked anything but.
Yeah, when you put your arms up there really wasn't a lot of flexing going on, was it? But yeah, the Melbourne Storm, I think they've sort of flexed their muscles a little bit in recent weeks because they've just worked their way to the top of the ladder without playing their best football. They were never in doubt in this game, and what we are seeing as well is maybe where Craig Bellamy is coming from, because I've been interested to see who he was going to partner alongside Cameron Munster, Riley Jacks, Brodie Croft, or Jerome Hughes, who's kind of been the wild card. He's been the lightning bolt that's come out, and Craig Bellamy has actually come out and said that it's his jersey to lose now. But Cameron Smith is out playing first and second receiver a lot more than we've ever seen, and all of a sudden that makes it so much easier for Jerome Hughes to come into this side. Melbourne not only playing good football, but they're getting people back. Dale Finucane had an extended stint on the sideline. He's back in the side. Jesse Bromwich as well. Curtis Scott was out suspended. All of a sudden, going into this game, Sam Cassiano was the only player who could possibly be in the 17 that was sitting in the casualty ward. So it's not only a side that's playing well, playing with confidence, and we know what they're like in big matches, but they're also a healthy roster, and that's augurs very poorly for other teams.
Oh, yes. Let's head to Sunday, the early kickoff. The Warriors, your favourite team to tip. Look, had a chance to all but confirm their spot in the finals, but did anything but 36 points to 12 on the receiving end from the Gold Coast Titans.
Yeah, I tipped them. I don't think they'll get me again. I don't know how many times I've said that in the past.
Fell into that trap.
Look, James, this is their biggest game of the year. Look, I know every week is big, but the Warriors come into this game having seen the West Tigers get beaten. They know that it's a match, if they win, that I think pretty much confirms their finals spot. They've beaten the Gold Coast Titans 14 of their previous 15 meetings. They've travelled well this year. They lead 12-8 at half-time. Have a look at some of the defence here in the second half. They capitulated. And it's a terrible word to use, but that's what they did in the second half. I don't know. Stephen Kearney, the coach, coming away from this, I don't know where the answers are in relation to the fact that they were pretty good the week before against Melbourne, got strangled out of that game. But in the second 40 minutes, they were just a pale imitation of what we've seen in patches this year. They are back under pressure. If the West Tigers, I know we've only got 5 games left, but if we see more of that from the Warriors over this next month, the West Tigers are not out of finishing in the top 8.
Well, Gio, I was really looking forward to this one, the last game to wrap up round 20. The Roosters and Dragons, they obviously have their Anzac Day match earlier this year. The Dragons always do a good job in that. But why have times have changed? 36 points to 18. The Roosters, they are on the up and up at the back end of the year. Yeah,
the scoreline suggests that they were twice as good as the Dragons, and they were. Got away to a really good start, the Roosters, and they put points on the board. I was disappointed with the way that the Dragons came into this game. I thought physically they weren't up to what they were trying to meet in regards to what the Tricolours were throwing at them. I thought they were off the pace. And yes, this Roosters outfit are building nicely. The combinations are obviously there. Trent Robinson has had a plan in place, and it's coming along very, very nicely. But I was disappointed with what I saw from the Dragons in this game. And these matches, coming into finals football in this last 6 weeks, it has an effect, not just the 2 competition points on the scoreboard. Coming out of this game, the Dragons, there might be a little bit of doubt there the next time they take on the Roosters. The Roosters now psychologically get one up on their opposition. So there's some work to be done for the Dragons. I don't think we're going to see them fade like we have done in the last couple of seasons. I still think they're a very, very good football team. And sometimes in these matches, you learn a lot more from the loss than maybe what you would have from the win. So I think they go back to the drawing board to some degree. What I do want to point out something a little bit different. I want to go back early in the game. Roosters, they lead by 10. To do well against the Roosters, you've got to be able to build pressure, especially when you are behind on the scoreboard. And against such a strong defensive line that the Roosters have, that is insistent and keeps coming at you, I think you've got to kick. I think you've got to be prepared to kick early and just put some doubt in their mind. Now, these are the first 2 kicks from Ben Hunt in those opening 10, 15 minutes. This is a late decision. It's a poor decision. It doesn't get through. Roosters pretty much off the hook again after peppering the defensive line. Doesn't get through again. Now, this not only had the effect of building no pressure, but I think it also took away the confidence of Ben Hunt to try that kick later on. It went back into the kit bag. But it's a ploy that you need to employ against the Roosters, because when the defence is up in your face, you've got to turn them around somehow. You've got to put doubt in their mind so that you get a little bit more time and space to work in. And I thought the fact that it wasn't effective early kicking from Ben Hunt kind of took that play away from them. They lost confidence in it. So the Roosters looking really good. Dragons disappointing, but I still think they've got something to offer.
Got a grand final prediction for us, and who'll be there?
Oh, I don't want to do this. You put me on. Roosters, Melbourne.
Excellent. Who wins it?
Roosters, Melbourne in the grand final. But I like Penrith. I think if they play their best football, they're very good. I think South Sydney and St George Illawarra are good. So I'll tell you, I don't think the Warriors can win the premiership.
Okay, great.
Okay?
So we've got
that's my prediction out of this weekend.
You went from 2 teams in the grand final to someone that's not in it winning the premiership.
And how good's that? That's the kind of competition we're in at the moment, and you shouldn't put me on the spot like that.
Good luck taking those splinters out. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks. I like this fence.
There we go. Sterlo's wrap up after 20 rounds of the competition. From round 21 onwards, the last 5 rounds, we're adding another game to our schedule too. Saturday night football right here on 9.